Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2018 and the second part of this experiment where we take a look at what would happen if 22 leagues in Europe had all of their reputation increased to the max, had all of their bank balances increased to the max and all of their players released, resetting everything with a completely level playing field from the Sky Bet League 2 right up to the Swedish First Division to the Serbian Second Division back to the Premier League and Bundesliga. Everything has been reset. You can see the full list of teams here. In the last episode we were just having a look at some of the big transfers, where players had moved to and how much it had just so even between even Sky Bet League 2, which now has Griezmann playing in it, and just Paul Pogba playing in the lower leagues. It's insane. Aston Villa, one of the best teams in terms of picking up players last time out. So I'm very excited to see where today is going to go, because today we are going to go 1 year into the future to the end of the first season and have a look at who went where, who won what, and what effect all of that money and player shifting has had on the games. So let me know in the comments before we go forward who you think is going to win the Champions League. That's the big one that I can't wait to have a look at. Obviously it has to be one of the teams in the Champions League already, but which team will it be? Because there is that outside chance that a Swedish team or a Serbian team could come from absolutely nowhere and win the Champions League. So do let me know down in the comments. But let's go forward to the end of that first season right now. Well, we are now 1 year into the future, and you can see that there are a lot of available jobs going, including Man City and Spurs, which is going to have some effect on what's going on in the Premier League or the results that happen there. But let's have a look at the Premier League and see how it turned out. You can see Tottenham, despite not having a manager, have won the Premier League with 95 points. You can see Chelsea, rock bottom of the Premier League, with 28 points. It's completely arbitrary the way that this has worked. But Spurs, Man United, Burnley and Everton all going to the Champions League next season, with Brighton, Liverpool and West Brom going there as well. If we have a look at the transfers, and I suppose the biggest fees to begin with in the Premier League, you can see a lot of money was spent because they all had a lot of money. And I mean, it's not even to the Premier League. Casemiro going to Kristianstad FC for nearly 100 million. They're in the Swedish First Division South. They're not even in the top division in Swedish football. What on earth is that about? £100 million spent. Tranmere signing Steven Nzonzi from Everton for 91 million. Ozil going to West Ham for 96. Alexandro going to Halmstad for 100 million from Liverpool. But they only finished 4th in the Swedish First Division. Yarmolenko going to Bacca for 87 million. Any major name shifting? You've got Burnley selling a player to Maidstone for 64 million. They're not even in the game. They're in the Vanarama National League. I don't think I've even loaded that league. And yet they've been moved to the Vanarama National League from the Premier League. It's just insane what's going on here. Osterson's doing well, picking up Halstenberg and Falke, from Chelsea and City. Players just moving arbitrarily between different clubs, and look at how much money has been spent in and out of the Premier League. It's absolutely unreal. Pineda going to Huddersfield, picking up a wonder kid there quite cheaply. I can't even make sense of this. There's just too much going on for me to be able to pick out any one player. But let me know if you see any major movements there that are worth picking out and having a look at down in the comments. But at the moment, Premier Division won by Spurs. If we then have a look at the League 1 Conformer and go to the stages and the league table, which is what we're really interested in, you can see Nice won it, PSG second, Monaco down in 5th, Troyes, Angers and Rennes all relegated from the league. Really interesting makeup of teams that qualified for the Champions League. Strasbourg, I assume, maybe don't have the stadium capacity to actually be in the Champions League. But look at the players going out. Spartak, where is Spartak? They're in the Serbian Super League final phase Group A, and they've spent 104 million on Franco Vazquez from Metz. Icardi leaving PSG to go to this team, which I can't even pronounce, in the Swedish Second Division North. I don't even know what tier of the Swedish league that is. I think it's the third tier. And each tier is split in two from the outside the top one, I believe. Maybe a Swedish person can let me know down below. Conor Plianka going to Troyes for 100 million. Higuain going from Guangzhou to Montpellier for 70 million. I mean, what's he doing in Guangzhou in the first place? He must have moved over on his free transfer. Conte going to this team, another Swedish team, the Swedish 2nd Division North. For how much did he go for? Nearly £97 million. It's just impossible to make sense of this. It's going to be years before this league balances out, because you can see the players are moving to the clubs with a high reputation, which is every single club. The amount of money being spent is out of this world. If we have a look at Nice and their finances, their club details still at 10,000 reputation. Their finances have now gone over 1 billion after they won the league. I mean, it's just so difficult to make sense of it. The German First Division, who's won this? Dortmund are the eventual winners. I hate leagues that have playoffs in them. Dortmund top, only 67 points though, 9 defeats, and they won the title in a 34-game season. Look at how well that is distributed in terms of points totals through the league. So tight. Bayern finishing down in 8th. Leverkusen and Red Bull Leipzig both getting relegated. Huge shocks there. If we have a look at the transfers in this league, if that's something we're able to do. Doesn't seem to want us to have a look at the transfers for some reason. Maybe there weren't any. I find that difficult to believe. Did Dortmund sign anyone? Transfer history, they did. I don't really know why it wasn't showing any transfers, to be honest. But all of theirs were on free transfers. Quite interesting. There weren't even any really major signings in there either. But interesting that Dortmund have won the league. If we have a look at Serie A, Juventus keeping the status quo going. Despite everything that's happened, they are still winning their division without too much trouble. And you can see why. They signed so many players. Abate, Kolarov coming in, Astori, Boateng, Verdi, Calcedo coming in, Thovan coming in for 28 million. I mean, Luis Adriano coming in from Spartak Moscow as well. Just so many big changes. If you look at the transfers for Serie A, it just doesn't want to show us the transfers for some reason, even though the league is loaded. There we go. It's frozen for whatever reason. You can see 97 million spent by Borac, Serbian Super League final phase Group B, from Spal for nearly 100 million for Correa there. Ozil going to West Ham. We saw that one already. Tolisso, Sanchez, Olivier Giroud moving to Rad for nearly 53 million. Rad, I'm getting tired of pronouncing Serbian league names. Imbula. Who else we got down here? Thovan, Sorensen, and Villa. I mean, it's just unreal, some of these movements going on. Swedish Premier First Division. Malmo have won this one. Yeah, they are the current holders. I think they're halfway through the season at the moment. If you look at the transfers in this league, not a lot of money spent, despite the amount of money they actually have. I don't know if that's related to where the transfer window is in Sweden. Maybe people can let me know what's going on. Or it's because that was last season, this is this season. Alexandro, 100 million. Huge amounts of money being spent by the Swedish teams signing up these players. But Malmo are the current holders. Portuguese Premier League, currently won by Sporting. Spanish First Division, who's won this? Well, you've got Barcelona finishing second to Girona, Real Madrid down in 10th, and Atletico Madrid relegated 6 points from safety. Serbian Super League, won by Spartak, split in two here. They must split their season at a certain point, but Spartak, the current holders of the competition. In the Championship, did Villa win it in the end? The title winners were actually Leeds, with Brentford going up through the playoffs. Aston Villa did not get promoted despite all the players that they brought in. You can see Leeds are current holders with 130 points. They went absolutely unbeaten through a very difficult championship. And I'm not really sure why. They didn't even bring in that many great players. It's completely arbitrary the way that this was working out. They actually raised 120 million in sales, didn't sign anyone for any money, and yet they won the league unbeaten. That makes absolutely no sense. Imagine being Ipswich and not winning the title with 120 points. Aston Villa not getting promoted on 96 points. And then right at the bottom you can see Sheffield Wednesday, Norwich and Preston all down there. In the French Second League, it was won Lorient won the playoff. If we have a look at the stages and the league table, you can see Tours won the league here. In their transfers, what did we get? If we go back a season, £43 million spent, and right at the top, 99 million. Fabinho going to whatever this club is in Sweden. Pastore going to Chesterfield for nearly 100 million. Eriksson did leave Blackburn in the end for 107 million to Valenciennes. Salazar, Alexis Sanchez left Shanghai for Lorient for 65 million. I just can't keep up with all of these transfers. There's too much happening. There is too much news. What else have we got? Transfers in the German second division. Bentaleb, Bellarabi's in there. Let's go to the lowest English league. I think that's a natural place to try and finish up. And if we drop down to League 2, we can see Port Vale, the current holders. In the league table, it was Port Vale who won it, with Grimsby, Notts County and Mansfield all going up as well. In the transfers for League 2, what did we have going on? We had Pastore going to Chesterfield, Van Dijk, Steve Cook going from Wigan to Port Vale as well, Marco Rog going, hundreds of millions being spent here, if not billions being spent in this league, which just doesn't make any sense. If we go and have a look maybe at the Europa League, is that something we can load up? I can see that all the reputation has been messed up for all of the different competitions, so it's nearly impossible to figure out which one's which. Can we have a look at the Champions League? Because it's no longer the most prestigious competition, because all the other leagues have had their reputation increase. There we go. The European Champions Cup was won by Monaco over Nice. If we have a look at the stages for it and drop back to the semi-finals, then we can see Real Madrid and United getting knocked out there. So two French teams making the final. Copenhagen, I don't even think, they're not even one of the teams that had all the money, and yet they managed to make the quarterfinals. And who was in the last 16? Chelsea were in there. Any surprises? Not really, to be honest. Anderlecht getting there, but not too many surprises in the Champions League, except for Nice making the final. Monaco winning it, not that unrealistic, to be honest. So interesting the way that one panned out. And in the Europa League, might see something a bit more interesting here. It was won by Juventus in the semi-finals. Everton and Lazio were in there. Cologne in there as well. Quarterfinals, PSV in there. Were they one of the teams? They were not boosted and they made it to the quarterfinals. Krasnodar there as well. And then in the last 16, you got Midtjylland, Slavia Prague there as well. It's just the way that this is going to make up, especially next season with all these leagues having been changed. If we have a look at the FA Cup and see if one of the non-league teams managed to make it there, the current holders are Aldershot. Aldershot have won the FA Cup. They're in the National League. They aren't even loaded in the game, and they have won the FA Cup. Look at their transfer history. They didn't even sign anyone. They've got Muriel, Lopez and Hennessy, and they've won the FA Cup. What's that about? They don't have any players. How have they won the FA Cup? They literally don't have any players and have gone and won the FA Cup. It makes no sense whatsoever. Beating Burnley in the final, in the semi-finals, United and Arsenal knocked out. 6th round, SC United beaten 4-0 by Aldershot. Boston, Ebbsfleet and Gainsborough there as well. The teams not loaded in the game are doing the best in the cup competitions. Semi-finals there, quarter-finals, obviously because these are just league teams, but ultimately won by Everton right at the top there. The Italian Cup, who won the Italian Cup? Juventus did win that. They are maintaining their dominance in that league. Benfica won that. The Serbian Cup is the highest rated cup, won by Partizan. The German Cup was won by BMG. Coupe de la Ligue, won by Marseille. There is just so much going on. I can't keep up with it. I don't even know where to look. I'm going to need your help. What do you want to see in the next episode? We are going to go forward one more year because I think there'll be a lot more sort of interaction of transfers as reputations of clubs start to decline and money is spent and leaves the clubs. We will start to see it balance out, but it depends where your team is, in which league, by the time that they lose their reputation. Because if Chelsea have just been relegated bottom of the Premier League and they drop down to, say, League 2 by the time reputation balances out, they will stay in League 2 and they will probably run out of money. So it's quite interesting how that will ultimately break down. So let me know what you want me to go through in the next episode, because there is so much to take a look at. But do drop a like on this video if you're enjoying this series a lot. Make sure to subscribe as well. The new part will be out in just a couple of days. Remember to thank Jen by going and clicking the link in the description, downloading this database and having a play around yourself. You can also support the channel on Patreon if you want to be able to do your own experiment like this and have me record it on the channel. You could also follow me on Twitter using the link down in the description as well. But until next time, see ya.